Hey guys, quick look at the gear. Astra Superior Platinum blade inside of a Gibbs adjustable razor. Zenith B10 Boar brush. It's been soaking for maybe 15 minutes. And finally, the soap is a sample from Connaught Shaving of the Indian Sandalwood from Saponificio Bignoli. It looks like Bignoli, but I believe the pronunciation might be Bignoli. And there we go. Now it's got a picture of a rooster, and the bottom word there is gallate or something like that. And I know that gallo pinto is a dish that I've had before that means painted rooster down in South America. And so I'm pretty sure that the gallate means rooster. So I don't know exactly if that's the name, more of the name of the company, or maybe it's the name of the base. I don't really know for sure. But Indian Sandalwood, or Sandalo Indiano, is the scent. And I'm a big Sandalwood fan, so I'm looking forward to trying this guy. I've heard about this soap company. It's not really one we get in the U.S. very much. Maybe it's a little expensive to import. You know, who knows? Let's try it out. And I've already got the Platinum Astra. I'll put a little G on there to signify that it is has been cut and snipped for the Gibbs razor, because as you can see, the Gibbs has these little posts. If you get the proprietary blades, I imagine that's a really cool technique that they had back then a long time ago to make sure that the blades aligned properly. But we don't, that kind of went by the wayside. We use center rails in many of the razors to accomplish that same thing. And so no cutting is necessary. Well, I got on Amazon and bought this punch. It wasn't too expensive. And it's a 1/8 inch hole punch. I could have bought a slot, but I decided to go with the circle. And I basically, when you stick it in the on the edge end tab, you only see about half of the circle of the blade, and that's about the right depth. I just created, right before this shave, a tutorial video that shows how to use this type of punch to create a Gibbs ready blade out of a contemporary blade. And if I were to only get 2 or 3 uses out of a blade, I wouldn't bother with that much trouble, since we've got so many great razors out right now. But since I usually get 30, 40 uses out of a blade without too much trouble, to me it's worth it. Worth a little bit of time for that variety and that internationality and the history of it all, and smooth shaves. The Gibbs I tried out from a friend was a great smooth shaver. I've had to tweak mine a little bit with how much screwing on of the handle there needs to be, where the setting needs to be, that sort of thing. And so I'm hoping to get to a good place with my own Gibbs, because I finally found one. Okay, now how do we lather samples? Kind of small, would be tough to get a brush in there. So instead we get our thumb. The back of our thumb is sometimes a good one, a butter knife, or a 1/4 teaspoon measure is one of my favorites, because most soaps, a 1/4 teaspoon measure is just the right amount, or a little bit more than you need for a nice 3 or 4 pass shave. So this seems to be a little on the softer side. Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely softer than many of the American cropes that we have. I wouldn't think it would be too much of a stretch to kind of call this a cream. And sometimes the creams then just have a higher water content. So sometimes you don't get as good of a efficiency, economy, if you get the creams, because you're paying for some water. But if it's a cheap cream, then maybe it's not a big deal. And creams also can sometimes be lathered up a little quicker, easier to lather. So if you're new, then a cream might be a good starting point for you. I'm just going to kind of get all of it here. I don't have to press it down too much because it's a cream. And we'll put that aside. I'm going to now throw a little water on my face as a pre-shave. maybe 24 hours since my last shave, maybe a little bit less. All right. We have the boar brush that's been soaking in, I have hard water. So if this works, we know it works in hard water. I'll be using cool temperature water. I don't use hot. And let's just start mixing this up. Used a cream the other day, Palmolive cream. I had a friend send it over to me from, is he in the Netherlands? He's somewhere over near that region, I believe, and I really appreciate it. And man, that Palmolive cream has kind of a classic blue smell. But man, that stuff was efficient. A little bit sure went a long way. Now with just a little bit of stirring, you also see that we have generated some of that puffy, dry type lather right away. Not a bad thing, it just means we're not finished yet. You don't want to shave with that stuff. You want it to be wet. I think some people get a bad impression from wet shaving just because they take a soap and they grind on it a little bit with the brush, or they take a cream kind of like this one, work on it just a little bit, and they just, it looks like what people might put on their face, and so they go ahead and try it, but it's just not wet enough, so it doesn't provide the protection that a proper lather will. Nice scent coming up. It does have some other things mixed in with it other than the sandalwood. Or perhaps it's true sandalwood and I'm just used to something else, a drier type of sandalwood. It could be that this is a proper Indian sandalwood. Yeah, it definitely smells like there's some other elements to it, like maybe some green notes or some floral notes, but it's definitely not a feminine scent. I think I like it so far. Also with creams, usually you don't need to add quite as much water, and so I'm definitely not going to add water as quickly with this one than I do my harder soaps. This is a nice soft boar brush. It's 20th time I've used it, and in boar brush years, that's pretty young, very young, almost in its infancy stage. But the Samogs that I've had and the Zeniths that I've had have broken in and gotten comfortable very quickly. In the very beginning, I would pre-soak them for about an hour or three before each shave, and in a matter of 3 or 4 shaves, they were wonderful to shave with. So it's even better now, and it's going to get softer and softer as the tips break. Now see, this is starting to resemble something that one might shave with. Now look at that guy hanging out, little tip right there. See, he's easily supporting his own weight. Now it is drooping. That's a good sign. We're getting there. Yeah, that might be right. There are some soaps that you need to keep a little on the dry side because they can't handle a ton of water. I'll try this guy out. Let's feel him. Somewhat slick. Not really a buttery slickness, kind of more of a watery one. Sometimes that means you need to add more water to kind of activate it. Kind of some micro bubbles going on there. Wish I knew that it was focusing properly for you. So here's the question. We're going to go ahead and add another ½ teaspoon. We're going to assume that maybe it needs a little bit more water to really activate that lather and kind of get something creaminess to come up to us. So let's try that. Yeah, it's definitely got a scent that's got some strength to it. It's coming up to my nose from this distance. It's a good sign because I do like a scent that I can enjoy during the shave and not something that's overly mild. Pull it all down to the bottom of the bowl like that and then pull it up is one of the things I do to kind of just look at the viscosity. Look at the way that wall right there moves. That's something to note as you discover where you like your own viscosity for this particular soap. And remember, you may like it to have long peaks for this soap, but another soap that handles the water a little better, you might like it to have even more elasticity and still have it hold up well. So your own personal standards, your own personal kind of landmarks to look for a soap lather could differ per brand, or even per soap base. As we know, some makers will make a few different bases or improvements, sometimes version 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes they'll call them different things, like the Barrister and Man Excelsior is the current one. And then before that, it was Reserve. Before that, it was Glissant. Milk Steak is the newest one currently from Declaration Grooming. Before that, it was Icarus. You know, they have sometimes they name them different. All right. Let's get some water on my face. And see how this does. Saponificio Bignoli. Yeah, I do smell the florals. The brush is handling this soap nicely. It feels soft on the face. It's not a super creamy lather. Why don't we add a little bit of water and see if it changes? See how it changes for the better or if it thins down. If it thins down, then we know that this is just a soap that I personally need to run just a little drier, not quite hydrated as much as I usually do. We do have a little bit of clumping during this type of movement, the painting strokes on my neck, so we'll just add a little bit more water. I like to turn my head over to the side while I add water to the brush. Otherwise, it just seems to kind of always come out the base of the brush, and then it's wasted and I get messy for no reason. I believe the lather is improving, so that's a good sign. You can also add it to kind of the flat side of the brush as you're doing neck strokes like this. Do a few drops. So try different ways, see what you like the best. Some of us do this type of shaving because we just kind of like the way it feels. We like how we are identifying with men of the past in our own history, as well as the men who've gone before us and shaved with creams and brushes and soaps, things like that. Kind of a spa-like ritual. And so sometimes there may be a method of adding water that feels more like it's in line with your own goals, you know, than some other method. All right, well, we've got tons of lather in the thing there, that's for sure, huh? Okay. Feels pretty good on the face. It feels very light on my face. All right, we basically got this at the most mild setting that it has. Let's just see what we get. Astra SP, the Platinum Astra, is often a very good blade for me in many different razors, so we'll see if it's a good one in this razor. Feels pretty good so far. I'm getting a little bit of drag, so it'll be interesting to find out if that is the soap maybe needing a little bit more slickness, or if that is the razor. A little bit of blade feel. All right, a little partial rinse. All right, so first impression with this first pass is that I'm not all that impressed with the soap. It seems to be okay, kind of like Perazzo. It's okay, but doesn't feel luxurious. I'm not getting a lot of slickness, secondary slickness feel on my face. Rinse was very kind of mundane. But it is giving me a serviceable lather. Also with this particular razor, I'm looking forward to trying another soap with this razor and see if maybe, yeah, I don't remember as much drag with the other Gibbs that I tried. So second pass now. As a Sandalwood fan, I guess this isn't really tripping my triggers. It's either I'm just not used to the kind of Sandalwood this is. All right, hey, we've got a guest in the shower, so I did not show you the last couple of passes. I did finish 3 passes, and then did a little half pass on my little trouble area right here. And I got a pretty good shave, but this soap does not give you very much secondary slickness. You do need to reapply if you're going to reshave an area for sure, at least for people of my skin type. I do have a couple of passes left over of soap. It does have a sandalwood scent, but there's other stuff in there like a soapy scent, maybe combined with maybe a powdery and a floral, that make me not want to revisit this guy again, and very glad that I only got a sample. How much water did I use up? Looks like about 3 teaspoons, which is a reasonable amount, common among many soaps when I do it this way. That's not too bad. The razor performed pretty well. Maybe a little bit of irritation, razor burn on my neck area, but it could have just been the soap used and not the razor itself. So we'll try that again later for sure. All right, well, this soap, not all that recommended by me, but it was fun to try something new. I don't really like this type of sandalwood scent because it just has too much other stuff along with it. And I found that to be the case many times with a European type sandalwood, UK as well. They just add some of these flowery, girly things in with it. Maybe that's a big market, maybe people love that, and that's okay. Just not quite me. All right, so I'm just going to clean up. I'll say goodbye, take care, and we'll see you next time. I'll just pick some weird post-shave to throw on, and that'll be it. You take care. Bye.